Okay, I know my timer did not say that we were starting right now. I apologize. I've got a late start today. I had to go and drop something off at my doctor's office and it kind of interfered with my normal start time. So I apologize for that. And then when I started up, I kind of had I can't change the starting soon timer unless, I mean, I can, but it takes a lot of work to do it. So basically, sorry about that. If you were thinking you had like, I don't know, 8 more minutes to go, you don't, because here I am. But I have to set up my computer screens first. So if you would give me just a second to do that kind of stuff. I normally have this all done or mostly done by the time I hop in. And obviously this morning I just did not have time to get everything squared away. So I'm going to do that now. And we are going to get in here and make all the changes that I need to and get this stuff set up. Let me just make sure that I have volume. I do, so you can hear me, which is good. Hopefully my microphone won't give out. I did not change the batteries, which I normally do. I changed the batteries and the battery packs from the receiver and the transmitter because obviously I'm wearing a lavalier and I have a wireless pack on me. And I normally change those batteries out before every show. I've got rechargeables, so it's not like I'm throwing them away. But anyway, I did not do that this morning. So it says I still have like 2/3 power. Hopefully that's the case. And I don't run out before the end of the show today, because like I said, I am running behind. I'm just gonna pop in and get all of my channels set up on screen here, just so that if anybody is throwing a comment out there to me, that I can see it, because I'd love to see your comments. By the way, welcome to episode 41. We are on episode 41, just crazy, but we are. And I need to make that mute and slide this over. Oh, a pinned chat. You can now pin a message to the top of your chat. Okay, well, I can pin a message. Nice. So I could like type something in here. Welcome to the workshop, to the wood shop, right? Wood shop, wood shop. Ask a question, make a comment, or just say hi. Or I got to type. Okay, and then I can pin that. Let me see if it says I can pin. Oh, pin message. There we go. Look at that. I just pinned that. How special. Anyway, that's only on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, the pinned comment is there. If you're watching on Twitch, there are not any pinned comments there. I could copy that though. Let me go over my Twitch and just paste that message in there. Beep. Oh, good grief. Really? And never mind, because it's kind of a pain there in Twitch. Twitch is always so hard. It just is. All right, let me get, I need one more window open here. I need my Facebook open so that I can see the JR's Woodshop page. It's being a little pokey now. And then once I get that page up and running, then I can slide it over, and then we'll be in good shape. So there it is. Show me my live post. There we go. Thank you. Watch live. No, shh. I want to watch it large. Click to expand. I did. There we go. Okay. And I have to make it quiet. And all right. I think we are now in good shape. Let me get my windows arranged here. Like I said, I apologize for this. I just kind of was running behind, going to the doctor's office this morning, dropping stuff off, getting back here and trying to get everything up and ready. Usually I'd have a little bit more time. This morning I did not. This is just the way it is. Okay, jumping right into things because we've got some corner work to do, and it's not all going to get done today. There's just no way because of glue time. I need to flatten my table. My workbench is not, because I know the bottom of this is pretty flat. Yeah, it's pretty flat. But my workbench seems to have lost its flatness over time. I need to probably reflatten my workbench. Today is all about these little things right here. These are corners. These are the little pieces of wood. I've got a bunch of them here. A bunch more, just little triangular shaped pieces of wood here that I'm going to turn this camera on because I haven't turned it on yet. I haven't turned any of my other cameras on, so I have nothing to show you all yet. So when we get ready to jump into some stuff where I'm going to be working, I'm going to have to set up a camera. I believe this camera is working, so I can show you. I've got these. I'm going to be making these smaller pieces right here. It's a little triangular piece. I'm going to make those out of these longer pieces right here. I cut these on Monday. So we have some different, they're kind of different size, but they should all do the same thing. So these may be a little bit larger, but they're all approximately the same size, and they get cut down into pieces that are like this. So we will just take them and cut them down. And something just went ding. I have no idea what went ding. What went ding? I don't know. Okay, something went ding and I don't know what it is. Looking for dings. Oh, you know what? I didn't. Oh, that was back here. Back here, I didn't fire this one up. I started the computer, but there we go. That's that. So you can see the screen behind me. Where is it? Right there. There it is. Okay. In order to get these cut to the right size, I have to do this for each individual base, because even though I try to, make these all at the same time and use the same dimensions, it's wood, and so my dimensionality might be slightly different from one base to another. And this has a lot of glue squeeze out that I did not get out of here. But anyway, they might be a little different from one base to another, just kind of the way it goes. But what we're going to do is we're going to measure how thick these are, how deep these are. If I can get this piece of glue out of the corner here, it's driving me crazy. We're going to measure how deep these are, and then we're going to figure out how thick the base of the sewing machine is, which I need to get part 2 out here. This is the sewing machine base. Hang on, I got to dust this thing off before I grab it because it's quite dusty. But I keep it down here. This is just my my working model here that I use for measurements and such. So this would be a full-size Singer sewing machine. I don't know what this is. This is maybe a 115 or a 15, one of those. I don't know. That's not my specialty of knowing what it is. I know that it's a full size. So if you look at this base that I have right here, you'll see that it fits nicely right inside. But that's not the way it works. It doesn't sit in the bottom. Remember, these bottoms are not load-bearing. It sits on corners. So what we need to do for this particular base is I need to figure out how thick I want to work with for these the base plate on here. Now, here's the thing, or the bed, they call it the bed, base plate, whatever you want to refer to it. This large piece of cast iron on the bottom, it is different depending on which edge I measure. And it's this way on all the machines pretty much. They made millions of these things, and I guarantee you're never going to find one that has a matching thickness on all 4 corners. It's weird. So my thought is I need to find the thinnest corner, and that should give me the depth that this thing needs to sit into. If it sits above that, that's okay. I want that thinnest corner to be level with the, I don't want it to sit below. I want it to at least be at the height of the edge. So by measuring for the thinnest corner or the thinnest edge, because remember, I take these corner pieces and they go in the corner of the boxes. So these will fit and the corners will rest on these. The corner of the sewing machine will rest on these. There's nothing else supporting these except these little corner pieces. So that's the only place I need to measure is the corner of this thing. Let's just see what we get here. I'm in inches, but I'm in inches and decimals. So like this one, I'm going to say this one is 0.277, call it 0.277. This one, 0.2965. See where I'm going here. We'll flip it over because, you know, now here's the thing. I don't know whose machine is going to be in here, and I don't know what their measurements are. This says 0.25. And this one over here looks a little thicker. This one is 0.30. So you can sort of see that I measured all four corners and I got a different thickness for each corner. Therein lies the problem. These things aren't even. And if I was making a base specifically for this machine, I would measure each corner and make a corner piece that was exactly fit so that this bed would be exactly flush even with the top of this by altering the size of those corner pieces so that it accommodated for the specific measurement of this. Does that make sense? Because it doesn't to me. I can't do that. I'm not making it for this specific one. I'm making it for anybody's base. And like I said, the problem is they're all like this. They all have, I've gone through, my wife has numerous machines, and I've gone through and said, well, let me measure these. And I've measured, and none of them have equal measurements on it, because I thought, well, maybe this is just a silly one here. I went and found another one. Nope, same way. They're all kind of, I mean, they're close, but they're all kind of different. So that being said, my thought is I'm going to go with that 0.25 quarter inch measurement, which was, I think, on this corner right here. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but like, depending on where I measure it, it can be as little as 0.24. But if I get into the meat of it a little bit, it's around 2.5, 2.6. I think if I go 0.25, which is a quarter of an inch, and I measure that quarter of an inch down. Now, here's the thing. If it's thinner than that, they can always put a piece of felt. They make felt feet, little stickers that are felt feet, and some of them are super thin to all the way to really thick ones. And most people who do a lot of sewing machine stuff are familiar with the felt feet. In fact, I include 4 felt feet. When I sell these things, I include felt feet because that way they can put felt feet on the bottoms and rest on their table and not scratch their tables up if they so desire. I don't put them on there. I just throw them in with the adhesive backing on them so they can put them on if they wish to. But you can get those and put them in the corners too, and that way it will equal out the distance for these. The original Singer bases actually had pieces of leather that were on top of the wooden posts in the corners. So they would use leather on their corner pieces. Actually, so theirs were made 2 different ways. So if you look on the back of this thing, I don't know if I can show you on this camera. On the back of this machine, you will see, get my little pointer here, you'll see there's holes right here and right here, okay? Those holes were made for hinge pins. So here and here, those are for hinge pins. Those hinge pins would be for what we call lollipop hinges, which basically the hinge was a straight piece of metal that would go in there, and then there's little screws underneath that they're grub screws that would tighten onto those. Those little pins would come out to little round pucks that had the hinge, that was the hinge, and those little round pucks would go into the wooden base, but this piece of wood would be much thicker on the back. And then you would drill out for those round pucks that would go in there. I don't do that because there's different sized hinge, lollipop hinges, that's what they're referred to. There's different sized lollipop hinges that you can put on there and stuff. And I don't want to lock myself into one particular type hinge or anything else. So I make them without the hinges, and then they just rest on the corners. But they can adjust the thickness by putting a piece of felt on the corners and where they need it, and then that'll even out their corners and it'll be fine. So I'm going to go with 0.25 inches or a quarter of an inch. I'm going to stick this back down here. And 0.25, I'm going to get that on my little measure here. So 0.25, I'm going to just go with that. Okay. So this is now set and locked in. If I can get it to lock in, that's close enough. 0.2505. That's close enough. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this gauge, which is my little Craig, what is it, multi-mark, and I'm going to set the depth of my multi-mark to 0.25 inches because I'm going to use this to mark a line. It's kind of a two-way process here. So I get this set to the depth that I want that line to be. That's actually off just a little bit. Let me loosen this. Let me get it set exactly right. Right there. Don't move. Don't move. Okay. So now we're set at a quarter of an inch right here. So this little lip on this scale is now set a quarter of an inch above. I take that and I'm going to put that into the base here, and I'm going to draw a line down here underneath. So I'm sticking it in here and I'm going to draw a line. This is resting on the edge, and this down here sticks inside, and I draw a line up against that ruler, and that tells me how deep. Then I can measure from that line down to the bottom. And here's the thing, I need 4 lines because I need to figure out, well, because remember, these are all different sizes. So hopefully they're going to be pretty darn close that I can just cut one size and get by with that. I'm going to put one here, and I'll put one over here. And I'm going to measure those lines to see if they're pretty close. So I've got a mark on all 4 corners, because remember, I need to figure out how deep it is now from this point right here. It's kind of hard to show you. From this point all the way to the bottom. That's how long I need to cut that corner piece. So like this piece right here that I have, it's one that I did left over from another one. It is just a hair short of that mark. Now the other thing that influences this is if I have any glue in the corners that is keeping me from getting the piece of wood all the way into the bottom. Any pieces of glue will definitely screw things up. So I'm just going to take a moment to get any glue out of the corners. And this is squeeze out from when I put the when I glued in the bottom of the bases. But any little glue that's sticking out there does not allow that piece of wood to set flush on the bottom, and it will throw off my measurement. So we want to make sure that any little pieces of glue are removed from the corners specifically. I can clean any of the rest of it out. I just want to make sure that my corner pieces are not going to be messed up by any bits of glue that might be in the corners and throwing off my measurement. So I think we're good. So now all I'm going to do is get my ruler here, and I'm going to measure the lines that I just made. I'm going to measure all of these and see what I come up with for a measurement. So this one is like a 32nd under 2.5. And this one is a 16th under 2.5. So this is why it's kind of like they're just a little variance. This one is more like the 32nd under 2.5. And that's where I got to figure out, okay, well, where am I going to make these lines? This one's a 32nd under 2.5. So basically there's just one of them that is a tiny bit shorter or deeper by like a 32nd of an inch. I'm not going to worry about that 32nd of an inch. What I am going to do is I'm going to take one of these and, or do I want to use, I'll tell you what, for this particular base, I think I'm going to use, trying to see which one I want to use for this. I've got different pieces of wood here. And I've got 3 sapilis and 2 cherries and 3 sapilis. I've got 2 white oaks, 2 cherries. Okay, 3 sapilis and a maple. So I will use the lightest color wood that I have for the maple, and then I will try to use. I can get one of these in sapili because this is 36 inches long. Remember, my measurement was 2.5 inches. So that means I need a total of 10 inches plus a half, because you have to figure I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, actually 3/8 because of the curve of the blade. So I just figure 12 inches per. So this one is 36, and I can get 3 out of this one. So I'm going to take this one first, and I'm going to double check that measurement again. This is where it's all about the measurement. It's just all about getting this right. So we are, if I say 2.5, I think I'll be okay if I just go 2.5. I think if I go 2.5, I'm going to be just fine. I'm going to go 2.5 on here. That's my decision. So what I'm going to do is take this piece, and I'm going to measure 2.5 inches and mark that on here. Let's get this. We'll measure out 2.5. Make my mark. And I'm going to try to be very exact, because if you remember, I had like a variance on some of these of only like a 32nd of an inch, which is pretty darn thin. All right, I'm going to put my pencil back there on that mark. We are going to mark this across the wood. And then I'm going to take this over to my saw, my compound miter saw, which is behind me over here, here, no, right here, there it is, right there, which you can't see. And I'm going to put what? Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'm gonna go cut this off, and then we will measure it. But to do that, let me go ahead and change the camera angle here so you guys can see. Let me fire this camera up over here just for a moment. Give me a second here. I'm just going to aim it over there at the miter saw, and then I'm going to have to hook up the dust collection and whatnot, so that we don't make too much of a mess. Let me see if I can get zoomed in here. That's pretty good, zoomy. Pretty good zoom right there. Back it off just a little bit. All right, we have a camera angle. Let me check the camera angle for you all. Whoa, that's just my shirt. But there's the camera angle on the saw. And what I'm going to do is take my dust collection and move it over a little bit. And we will hook that in. I mean, this thing is a messy machine, unfortunately. This is all of my pieces that I'm going to move these out of the way. That was my corner backup pieces. All right, we've got the dust collection hooked up. We need power. And then we'll make that first cut. We'll stick it, and then we're going to make like 3 cuts to get 4 pieces or something like that. So there's power. I need my remote, and I need my ears. Got both of those. Okay, remote. This is locked in. We are going to get our piece of wood here and line this up. And then let's see what we get for a cut here. Keep my finger off the trigger while I move this blade around just a little bit, because I need this. I need to see this just on the edge of that cut mark right there. Now I can hold this over here. It doesn't matter where I hold it. I just want to make sure it's not going to move. Turn this on. Let's cut one. I'm not super thrilled. Not super thrilled. I think I missed just a little bit there. So I'm going to come over here and put this in a corner and look at one of my corner marks here. See how close I got here. I've got squeeze out in the corner here, and it's just not allowing these things to fit the way they're supposed to. So I'm going to clean this out. It doesn't take much glue to really hamper the piece of wood from sitting flat in the corner. There we go. All righty. Now let's see what we got from my mark. Where's my mark here? Oh, Sapili, you're so hard to see. There it is. So there's my mark. I'm trying to see if this actually may be a little large. Why? Okay. So I'm going to stick this in here best I can. I'm going to get this right here and measure to see if that's the measurement we need. It's actually a little long. Now, the one thing I didn't do, which I probably should have, was I did not square up the edge. I just assumed it was square. That could be a mistake. Let me just make sure everything's out of this corner. Put this down in here. And this is what we're going for. If you can see this right here, you can see that corner now right inside here. That's what I'm going for, is putting that corner inside there. This just seems just like it's a hair long. So I'm going to shorten this one down just a tiny bit, just a fraction. And doing that's pretty easy with the saw. So I'm going to go back over to the saw over here. And what we're going to do is let the saw do the work. I'm going to put this down, push it into the blade, bring it back up, and then I'll make a cut. It's just enough to, I mean, maybe a 64th of an inch. So all I did was just shave off, just barely shaved off that edge. Where's my, there we go. Once I get rolling, it's just like finding that first cut. Once I get that first cut going, these things go pretty quickly as far as the cutting goes. It's just a matter of getting that first one done. Ooh, that looks nice. That is perfect. Okay, so I have one right here. This is perfect now. So I'm going to use this as my measuring stick for all the ones to come after that. So what I do is take my piece of wood. I'm going to place this one on top of it right here. And I'm going to match up this back edge so that they are completely flush to each other. Then what I'll do is push this forward until that cut piece touches the kerf edge of my saw. And that lets me know where my next cut needs to be. Okay, that is all of the cuts for these corners. And I'm just gonna, ugh, got some fuzz on me here. All right, that's all the cuts for the corners. I'm just gonna clean off the edges here. I got some spidery webs or something on me there. But I just need to cut these, not cut, but trim these off a little bit. They get a little bit of fuzz on them from the saw blade. But I now have 4 of them in here that should all be really well suited for this. Now, hang on, I got some more. There it is. You get this glue out of these corners is driving me crazy. I should have come in here after when I did the glue up for the bottom. I should have come in here and, oh God, I hope that's the right one. There it is. I don't want to lose any of these. Oh, great. Oh, okay. All right, one of these is not like the other. I don't think that's the right one. These are all the right ones. Okay. I should have gone in and removed that glue squeeze out when these were just being glued. But, you know, is what it is. But glue squeeze out can be a pain in the rear end. So let me get it out of here. Because these need to fit flush. Like I said, they need to fit flush. So you just get to watch me suffer. Aren't you lucky? I'm just trying to get these out. This one's being a pain. Okay. I think this one's okay. All right. I think all these are okay now. I'm just going to put corners in here. 2, 3, 3, 4. Okay, I've got all the corners in. This one has a little burn mark from the saw on the top. I don't know if you can see that. I'll put it over here. So you can see it got a little burn mark on the saw, which is no problem because this end does not have a burn mark. So we put that end as the facing up end. Then what I do is I bring out our little test machine. We bring it over here. We set it in. And there we go. That's how it's supposed to look. Hopefully you can see that. It's just right here. This is actually this. So this area right here actually is just above the edge. This area just right to the edge there. I mean, it's right at the edge. There's not much you can do about that. Like I said, I sand these down so these edges are all soft and, you know, there's a little 1/8 inch roundover that goes around. But I try to get really close. Now the big difference, actually, you know what? I'm going to be a little sad here because I didn't take into consideration and I forgot that this is a thing. So this actually needs to be higher than this because of this plate. Oh, I'm so stupid. I hate it when I'm stupid. But you know what? Sometimes when you're pushing through a project, you do stupid things. Let me see how big this is. This actually needs to be larger than 2.5 because I have, see this plate right here on the front? I don't know if you can see that plate. There's a plate on the front here. Some of them have them on the sides. This is how you access the shuttle. If it's sitting in here and it's set flush with the top, you can't get to that. This needs to be high enough so that this plate will slide forward like this and then slide back. But that means it needs to be about a 1/16 of an inch taller. Now what I might could do here, is cut, I've got an extra piece here. I could cut this about 1/8 of an inch taller, a 1/16 of an inch taller than these. And then I'll cut one more out of that board. I had some extra on there. So I can actually make, because I know where the front of the base is this is actually the front. So it goes on this end. Oh, and this end needs to be a little taller by, honestly, like a 1/16, a hair over a 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to cut two of them that are just a little bit longer. Because this one specifically goes in this direction, this is the only one I can get away with that on, basically. This is the front of this base. Has the Singer logo on here, right here. You can see the logo, and the machine always is going to face this direction, and that plate's always going to be over on this side. That being said, I want to make sure that it's tall enough to accommodate for that. So I'm going to make a longer one of these, and I'm going to measure this out right here. I'm going to put this right here. And then I will cut another one. Let me draw this line. I'm going to measure this to see that it's, you know, just when you think you're smart, you prove that you're not. I thought I was all smart, like, look how smart I am by doing it this way. I just forgot to add that piece on there. So, you know, in how many of these I've made? A lot! And I still haven't figured that out yet. Still, to this day, I mess things up. All right, I'm going to measure this one out here. And I'm going to go on this side of that. Right there. So these will be just a little longer. Perfect. Make one more. All right, so these are now a little bit longer. I hope they're long enough. Let's see. One way to tell. Put them in here. Let's try it. So the answer would be, nope, you didn't do it, Jeff. That's not long enough. You're a dumb, dumb man. Why are you so dumb? I don't understand. I don't understand. All right, hang on. I'm not done yet. I don't have enough really to play around with this. That's the problem. I don't have enough of this stuff to really mess with here. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to shim these. So I think I'm going to shim them. And let me see if I can figure this out here. So basically I've got these really thin pieces of wood, right? And if I cut a corner shim that's the same size as the piece of wood that I want to fill in for, put this underneath here. Let's see if this works. This is just a rough test. So I'm going to shim this in like this. So this would go underneath that corner. And then let me do another one here. I know, this is weird, right? You're like, this is really strange. Actually, right up to that. It is a little weird, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to make things work. Shimming is an age-old, tried and true method for adjusting the fit of something. I'm going to do it like this and hopefully not bust this little piece of wood here. But shims can be used to kind of take up the slack. I don't want to cut this. There we go. So this is a very thin piece of wood. And it just busted on me. I hate it when it happens. It's all right. Glue is a wonderful thing too. But this very thin piece of wood, if I can get it to pick up here, will rest underneath, and it'll be glued in so it wouldn't move anyway. But we just put this right under that corner. This rests on top of the shim, and that hopefully does what we need it to do. Let's try it and see. Put the other corners in here. And you can see now that this plate does pass over that. Now, I do have some thicker material here, and I might want to shim with the thicker stuff. I have a slightly thicker piece right here, but then I would need to cut these with a, this one's a little thicker. I might do this one. And I would cut these with the table saw or with the bandsaw, but let me do this. So let me grab one of these, and I'm going to draw this on here. That's the best way. There we go. That's the best way to do it. So just so I get a perfect shim, I'm going to draw this on here. And so you can see right there, that's my little shim piece. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. This one's a slightly bit thicker. And I might shim all of these. I might just go ahead and do a shim for all of them. Just to get all of them up higher so that they don't look weird. Let me just do all of these with a shim. And then we'll go over to the bandsaw and we'll cut these out and we'll see how that looks. And these should all fit in the corners and they will just rest underneath. And I'll put a dab of glue under them too so they won't move. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, I could make more, but 4 of these. And all right, that's unexpected, but not the end of the world. I'm going to fire up another camera here for you all. Let's see here. Who wants to watch this? I'm just going to move this camera over here. And we will zoom in right there. That looks good. There we go. Zoomed in, ready for action. All right. I'm going to take my shim, if I can figure out where I put it. Oh, I left it over here. I'm going to switch camera angles so that you can see, and hopefully I will not be in the way. Let me get over here and see if I'm in the way. If I'm in the way a little bit, but we're going to do this, so let's just go ahead and cut these out. Here's one of the shims. Might be harder. Oh, this one. Okay. I think I got enough from that. What I'm going to do is just put them on some sandpaper here and take the rough edges off and clean up, get them nice and straight. And then drop them underneath my table so that I can't use them because that's more functional that way. Are you kidding me? Where did you go? There you are. Ugh. Just to make things a little bit more difficult. All right. So here's one shim. And like I said, just kind of trying to make it flat. Actually, if I get a piece of flat sandpaper here. And just clean up the edges so that they're nice and straight. And that's all it is a thin, a thin little wedge that will go underneath. I'm going to get this little wafer thin one out of here because it's not going to do the job. But get this little wafer thin one out and put this one in and check it. And see how this looks under here. And I think that actually will look just fine. Yeah. I'm going to do one more, check it, and then make sure that this depth is okay for this thing because I don't want them to be too thick. Too thick is not good either. I don't want this to rest on top of the machine. I want the machine to set inside, but all right, here's another one. Looks good. Let me just clean this edge off a little bit. Put that one over here. Get the fuzz out of the corner. All right. And get my piece of wood back here. Now I'm getting too many pieces of wood. I'm going to get confused. I could probably go back to my shorter pieces on here now. Which are my shorter pieces? This is my shorter piece. Hang on a second. Let me find my shorter pieces because with these shims, I can probably use the shorter pieces. Put this over here. And that's better because these shims are actually pretty good. And this is another one. That looks really good. Okay. I'm not caring so much about these pieces at the moment, but they do need to be in here so I can set the machine in and check the, I'm just going to use these really super thin ones for the moment. Let's check the machine again with those large wedges in there, or shims, and that is perfect. Okay, so we've got the perfect height here. Because remember, this is using a low measurement. If this is indeed thicker, then this would actually even sit higher. I'm working with the lowest possible measurement that I have right now, and that's what I need to go with. Those shims work. Back here works fine. We're good. And then what I will do is I'm going to measure this. I'm going to measure how long this one actually is. So I can possibly use this measurement in the next base. That's including the depth of the shim and the corner piece itself. Make sure this is hitting the bottom. And then we will measure that. Yeah, so that's actually over 2.5 inches by just a tiny little bit there. But enough. And I think, yeah, I think that's going to be the difference that we needed. I don't think I need to shim these edges over here, but I'm going to anyway because I have the shims. I already have those shims, so we're going to go ahead and shim these edges. But what I'm going to do, tell you what, so that I don't lose the ones I just made, I'm going to grab some of my corner brackets, gluing brackets. They sit way up here in a box, and I need to grab some of those so we can glue these in. So there's a corner. This particular box, I just use these regular brackets with. So these are my gluing brackets right here. And you can see they're basically a piece of wood with a V notch cut in there. What that allows me to do is put that on the back side of the base like this, and then I can clamp straight across. So I get really flush clamping pressure to hold this in place. That's the beauty of this. All right, I'm going to do this. I need to clean out all the little scraps of wood in here that I've been working with. I'm going to put these here so I know where they are. These two are going to go here so I know which ones those are. And I'm going to empty out all the scraps out of here. Really? Really? All right. So for these two, let me get this all cleaned out here. I'm just going to make sure that all those corners are clean. I'm going to take a little bit of glue. Hopefully my glue bottle's not completely dried up here. There we go. And I'm going to put a dab of glue underneath this little piece right here. Just a little teeny spot of glue. I mean, it's just a tiny little spot of glue, but that will hold that little shim in place. It's not going to move. I'm going to do the same for this shim. I'm just going to put a tiny little spot of glue on the bottom of it. And then put it in its place in the corner. There we go. Now I can glue these corners in. So the way I do that is really simple. I just put a little glue, use nature's glue spreader, put some on this side because you want glue on both of these faces right here. The nice thing is this is long grain and it's getting glued to long grain, so it holds really, really well. And then this fits in this corner on top of that shim like that, so that you basically get the corner set in. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to get a little glue and put it on the edge here. And then spread that around. I try to keep it away from this front edge where it's going to be on the outside. I get more glue on the inside portion because there's less chance of squeeze out on this side. If I put it close to these front edges, there's more chance of you getting some squeeze out on there. But just get it nice and covered up like this. We're going to put this in the corner. Just like that. Now, why is this one? It's a little weird, but that's okay. Okay, Now what we're going to do is wipe off my fingers so I don't get glue all over the base, and then we're going to get a couple of clamps, and we are going to clamp this thing up. So let me grab a couple of clamps from over here. I'm going to grab 4 of them because we will need the other 2 in a minute. And I just use these little Bessie clamps. This is not a overly complicated operation here. And what I do is I'll take one of these little corner glue jiggy things that I've made here, and we're just going to clamp straight across. Now I want to make sure that this is all the way pressed down, and then we just clamp it like that. That's it. That's all I do to put these things in here. And that is enough to hold these in place so that when that glue dries, these things aren't going anywhere. They are solid. The big thing is make sure when you're clamping these things that they don't rise up. You know, sometimes if you've got a lot of glue in there, sometimes when you put pressure, the wood can slide up the surface. You want to make sure that they are pressed all the way down and then tighten those clamps. And that, I'm going to give you a close-up, that's what we're looking at for clamping. So you can see the clamp goes straight across. I've got great pressure. I do have some glue squeeze out a little bit. I'm going to wipe some of that off with the paper towel right here. I tried to control that squeeze out. There's a little bit in the corner. I might get a straw to get that out. And then this corner piece, which I thought was smaller, actually is not, but it's sticking out. I'm not sure why. Hang on a second. This one is not. Something's wrong with this one. I'm going to undo it before the glue sets. Glue sets pretty quickly, actually. There we go. I'm not sure why this corner piece is not setting in there the way it's supposed to. Is that the way? It's sticking out from here. Ugh, what is the deal? Okay, hang on. Let me try this one, which I think is cleaned up. Let me make sure they're nice and square and flat. Because I don't want the only thing I don't want is that corner piece to stick out past my little shim. That would not be acceptable. And I don't, for whatever reason, all of these are longer. I'm not sure what's going on with these. Why are they all so long? I set it in there before and it was fine. Now all of a sudden, all my little shims are not the right size, and this is driving me kind of crazy, and I can't find all my shims. This has been just a fun day altogether. Start off by being late, and then I got oh my gosh, it's just, what is going on here? All right, this is too big. I don't know why all of a sudden this shim is too big, but it is much too large. And I need a much more coarse piece of sandpaper to knock this thing down to size, because it is not the right size. So hang on a second. See if we can't make this a little shorter. There's the other ones. That hopefully will be better. Let's try this. Okay, golly. I'm gonna put a little bit more glue on here just to make sure. It's still pretty tacky though, so I don't think I'm gonna have any issues, but better to work with a wet glue surface. And this needs a little glue on the bottom of it to get it in place. All right, I think we've got this now. Holding my breath. There we go, that's better. Oh, I don't know what the deal was with that corner piece though. Kind of strange. And just there to drive me crazy. So I'm gonna get this one glued back in. I'm gonna put the corner support back on. And like I said, I like to get it centered on the corner bracket and then just tighten these down. Now these are pretty easy to do in terms of the gluing brackets. When I get to the ones with the next one I do, I'll show you. That's a little more challenging because of the, shit, I hope I get the right, pardon my French, I gotta get the right corner pieces here. It's a little more challenging because of the fact that it has the side compartment. And hopefully my son left for work. Hang on just a second, I gotta check something, I'll be right back. Okay, all good. Sorry, I had to check. My son hadn't left for work yet and wanted to make sure everything was good to go. But he's in his car now and he's getting ready to head out the door. So I guess that would mean, yes, everything's good to go. All right, I'm gonna get this piece right here and make sure. So this is a little long. I'm gonna make this one a little shorter. So I've got a piece of like 80 grit sandpaper that I'm using, which will take off a lot of material at once and get these thinned down to a size that is more appropriate. Still a little bit much. So hang on a second. Let's get a little bit thinner here. This edge right here needs to come down. Okay, let's try that. Yeah, that looks lovely. All right, let's get this one glued in. And we will be done with this base in just a moment. I mean, this really is the last big step before we start putting the finish on them and everything. So this, you really want to make sure. But this is one of the most important parts because this is the support mechanism to hold those machines up. And you don't want those machines sliding, moving, falling, or anything like that. You want them to be held up and in place. And so that's why, like I said, when I glue these on here, I try to do a really good job. I use my clamping little brackets here that I've made, my little jigs and such, so that I can get a lot of really good clamping pressure and get a really, really good glue joint. Because I believe that is the most important aspect of success with these things. All right, we're gonna put this in here. Squeeze that into the corner. And that looks good. And I'm gonna get my clamp. We're going to get another little clamping brackety thing. And just lock it down. Make sure that piece is all the way pressed down. And then just tighten. All right, one more to go. And I need to find my little corner piece here. This needs to be sanded. So hang on a second. I'm just trying to get all the sanding marks off of here and all the little fuzz. This is not a very fine blade I use on my bandsaw, so it leaves a lot of fuzz on little pieces of thin wood like this. But that looks pretty decent. Just the edge here. Let's get that as flat as I can. It's pretty flat. It's pretty flat. I just need to make sure that this fits and is covered for the most part by this one. It sticks out just a little bit, so I'm gonna use the thicker more coarse sandpaper to take this down just a little bit. So this 80 grit sandpaper takes wood off at a pretty good clip here. Let's see how that looks. That looks spiffy. All right, last one here. Like I said, if this was something you would see from the outside, I'd be like, oh, I'd have to start all over again and not do shims and everything else. But it's not, and it is on the inside, and honestly, is not a big deal. Its main function is to hold up the base, not to be looked at. And since it's going to do that, I'm not going to worry about it. But I'm going to put the glue on here, just like the last ones, just really thin near the edges and thicker near the corner. And like I said, I just need to make sure that it's coming in contact with the corner of the base right here, so that we get very solid clamping action out of that. And that looks good. Clean the glue off my finger. Get that last clamp, that last corner support, and we are good to go. All right. I'm gonna glue this, tighten this clamp. Okay. This is what it looks like. So when it's done, there you go. Those are the four corners being glued in. We've got the supports here. I do want to get like a little piece of straw to clean this one edge out here, because otherwise there'll be a very large piece of glue stuck in there. Let me see if I've got a straw over here somewhere. Sometimes I keep straws in here or in my drawer. Actually, I have a straw in my drawer over here that I use just for, like a drinking straw. You just use it and you can slide it into the corner. And, oh, I thought I had one. I thought I had a straw. I thought I had several. Maybe it's in the bottom drawer. Yep, there we go. But you can use a regular drinking straw and it conforms to the corner, and you just kind of push it up, and any extra glue slides into the straw and off of your wood. Ugh, my shop is so small sometimes. So drinking straw right here, you press it so that the corner goes, so that it conforms to the corner. You slide it in, so you're just gonna slide it along that edge and lift it out, and the little glue is stuck inside, and my thing is now clean. So there we go. That's all there is to that. That's all there is to this. This one's done. Hooray. I can't set this there. Where can I set this? I need to set it somewhere. I'm going to set it on the floor over here. I need to move this. I need to move this because I'm going to just break an arm or something on there. There we go. All right. You'll be very careful with these bases, because if I knock one off of a tabletop or something now, that will bring me much sadness. All right, let's do one of the larger ones, and I will show you how these work. These are different in that they have a side storage compartment. So this compartment right here means that that little corner bracket that I used right here, you know, just to glue across, well, I can't do that here because this is a larger piece of wood. So I can't get that bracket to work. What I did to solve that problem was create a different type of bracket. And this fits multiple size bases, but basically what I've got is a little L-shaped bracket like this. And this hooks on the back side. We do it this way. So this hooks on here, and then your clamp will go across and then hook onto one of these teeth, so that you still get that clamping pressure across the face of the triangle, of the little triangle glue piece, but you get all that support, and then this holds it on. So that's my little jig that I made. It's pretty good. It works pretty well. All right. I need to do the same thing on this one. I need to figure out what depth I need on here. I think this is going to be about the same. I do believe. Let me check and see here. So I've got that measurement from the last base, and I'm just going to mark it on here. And I think that's going to be good. Actually, that looks a little long. Actually, looks a little deep. No, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. All right. So I said 2.5 was not deep enough, or was too deep, right? We didn't want 2.5 inches for the lid. We needed something a little less deep than that because we want it to hold up. There we go. So we're basically looking at 3/16. And actually maybe a hair less than 3/16. Oh, UPS man. He's not coming here, is he? UPS man, you got anything for me? I do not believe so. I do like when the UPS man comes and brings me toys, gifts, whatnots. All right, I'm going to draw a line here, and then we will measure. We're going to measure the depth of this line and see how long we need to cut this. We'll try this without shims this time. This is not working out the best that I wanted it to, but yeah, so 2 and 9/16. I have a piece of oak right here. We will use this as my my corner piece for this. The one thing I am going to do though, before I do that, before I do anything else, is I'm going to just going to smooth these really sharp edges over here. I'm going to square off this corner right here, just so I know which one I'm working with. I'm going to square off this corner just so that I know that I have a very square corner to start with, and then we can go on from there. Ears, this is number 2, and let's just push that into this. Okay, so I now have a squared edge here. It's square to, it's perpendicular to this edge, and that will make sure that I have very accurate cuts. And I'm just going to clean off the rough fuzzies off of that. Then we will measure 2.5 plus 1/16, I believe is what I said. So 9/16 on here. Right there. Okay. And let's make this measurement across here. Come on. Doesn't want to slide on here. Oh, this is being a pain. All right, there we go. All right, let us go cut this particular one out. See if that's going to work. All right, got these 4 cut, and I need to just do the little fuzzies off of this last one here. Make sure I get those cleaned off. And they look pretty good. We're gonna put these in the corners. We'll pull out our test machine here. We will give it a look-see. Fingers crossed that all of these work as they're supposed to now. All right. And this is the way the machine will sit in here. Just like that. Just like that. The little plate comes open. That is a much better job. Hooray for me. Okay, so now I can go ahead and glue these in. And I'm going to use basically the same method. I need some more clamps here. Grab 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't have enough of these clamps. I wish I had a lot more of them. When I'm doing something like this, it really helps to have the more the merrier, but that's okay. It is what it is. We're just going to start gluing. Oh, I also need to get more of these clamping jigs. So I need 1 more of the long ones, like this, and then I need a couple more of the corners that I've made. I don't like that one. This one's fine. This one's fine. All right. So here's some of the corners for these edges, and then another one of these for the long edges here. All right, and the glue, and we'll just get this party started here. This is a lot easier and faster because I don't have to have any clamping or any little pieces of wood underneath them or anything else. So this is just a matter of getting the glue in here and getting them into the clamps, which is all the other ones should have been if I had measured correctly. You know, I think half my time as a woodworker is spent fixing the mistakes that I've made. So, but I think that's true for anybody who does woodworking. You kind of spend part of your time fixing the screw-ups that happen not necessarily because of yourself, but sometimes just because, you know, a piece of wood breaks or you get a chip out or whatever the case may be. You know, you're having to fix something. All right, that is in there. So we'll get the clamp on here. Hold in place. Push that down all the way to the bottom. And we want the clamp to run right in the middle of the block of wood here. So we're getting really good pressure back against the edge there. So that one's done. We'll do the same with this one. Get the glue. But once you get them cut and stuff, you can see this kind of goes a little faster once you do it right. It's not that big a deal. The big problem for me is having enough clamps and the little clamping blocks. I mean, I can always make more blocks, but you have to have the right clamps. You can't just use any clamps to do these with because it just doesn't, I haven't had success. These are the best clamps for this job, is these small F-style clamps. I have some larger ones, but the bigger they get, the more unwieldy they are. They're just harder to use, which is why I really like these small ones. They're perfect. They're 6-inch clamps, little Bessie 6-inch F clamps, and they just do a great job. I don't ask too much of them, just this. And honestly, they do a great job at this. So the other nice thing is they don't, like I bought some F clamps from like Harbor Freight, and they just, you start applying pressure and they skip. They don't hold. You really want your clamps to hold in place. That's the big thing. They need to hold, not skip. All right, let's do these little sections here. This is the first of the long side little jigs I'm going to use. So you can see these are a little harder to put on just because they are. They're not as easy to work with as just the little corner pieces. Anyway, let me get the glue on here. I've got too much glue on my finger, so I need to make sure that I get some of that glue off of here. A, I don't want to squeeze out, and B, I want to make sure there's enough in the right places here. That should be okay, hopefully. All right, now for these, I don't know if it's better for you to see this way maybe. Yeah, perhaps this way will look good. I'll take one of these, and it's going to go and fit on the corner like this, so that hopefully you can see this. So I get that clamping pressure straight across here. Take my clamp, and I'm going to move it onto here, push it onto that corner, get this in place. This is why it's like, it's kind of a pain. Make sure this is pushed down, and then just start tightening. There we go. So that is what it looks like when it's clamped. So this piece right here keeps it from sliding down, right? It's holding the pressure there. And then this piece is got direct pressure across the face of this board, or of this little corner piece. There's direct pressure going across and hooking into this piece right here. So that's the beauty of that little jig right there, is that it gives you that clamping pressure in the exact direction that it needs to be. Yeah, So it works out well. I don't use them for anything else but this, but I could use that concept for something else if I needed to. Now, I've seen some people that they'll just get their brad gun and fire a couple of brad nails in there and they'll be done with it. And you know what? There's probably nothing wrong with doing that. You know, and maybe one day I'll try that, just using a couple of, you know, gluing, but using a couple of brad nails just to hold them in place while the glue dries. You know, if you've got really small brad nails, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. You know, I hadn't really thought of doing that. This is a little bit more of a challenge. This is a little bit more old world kind of style here with glue and clamps and other such things, but I hadn't really given any thought. Now, the big problem with using a brad nail or something is that you've got to have the right length of brad nail. You want it to go in and it has to secure into the board but not go through the board, and you don't want to split your piece of wood, so depending on which way it is oriented in there and the grain direction and everything else, you do run the risk of splitting that piece of wood, in which case you're kind of starting over again and blah blah blah. So, you know, glue on the other hand doesn't do that. There's no chance of me splitting the glue. The only thing I could do is maybe tighten my clamp down too hard. And I try to be cognizant of the fact that I need firm pressure, but it doesn't need to be massive gorilla pressure on here. And actually this one, I need to move it over a little bit. Right there. There we go. Try to get that pressure in the, I'm trying to get the pressure in the middle, like really in the middle of this triangular block of wood. And that gives it equal pushing pressure into that corner. So there you go. That is how I do the corners on the, that's how I do the corners on these longer pieces of wood right here on these long bases. They do, like I said, they're a little bit more of a challenge, but at the end of the day, not too bad to overcome. Like I said, my biggest problem is I don't have a ton of clamps, so I kind of have to just kind of keep letting these glue and then take them off and then use them again. And then, so it takes a little bit longer to get through that process. Hopefully by the time Friday rolls around, today's Wednesday, by the time Friday rolls around, I will have all of these glued and we can do some final touch-ups on these, which would mean I do some final sanding, probably starting with a 120 on the outside. I do a 120 grit and then I'll do a 150, and then we'll get the router and do an 1/8 inch round over on all of the edges. I do one on the inside edge here. I do them all around the outside edge on the top, and I do it all around the outside edge on the bottom. So I do an 1/8 inch round over. Then I come back and sand at 220 as my final sand. And after that, they're ready for finish. And that's kind of where we're at with these. Yeah, good progress. There's a lot of these steps where it just takes longer because, you know, you can't rush glue. So you just kind of have to let it do its thing. Also, you know, I'm doing things in between when you're not watching me. Like I'll do some of these bases, but then I'll go and do the rest of them. And that takes time. And I probably will work on some of these today, let them glue tonight, and then come back tomorrow and do the other ones so that we're ready to go. So it does take a while to do things like this. There's certain parts of the process that just take longer. So it is what it is. Hey, do you want popularity? Buy followers and viewers on blink, blink, blink. Hey, Twitch is so scummy sometimes. So many little bots out there doing things. Anyway, well, if you did stop by and watch this calamity of a show today, I appreciate you stopping in and watching. If you're watching at a later date, they're not always this cuckoo crazy. Just today was just, it got off to a late start, and then I had a couple of hiccups, issues. But I think this is a good place to stop it. We're at almost, what is it, 1 o'clock? I think it's 1 o'clock. 12:55, 1 o'clock on Wednesday, and I will continue working on these bases, cutting down the corners. I've got a lot of extra wood here to cut down for corners, so I'm going to cut down corners. I think I've got enough blocks to glue one more, so I can get 3 of these into the glue with the clamps. And then once they dry up, I'll throw a couple more in, and then I'll finish them up tomorrow. That'll give all of them corners, and then we can get into the last step of the creation, which is cleaning them up and sanding and rounding and such, before we get into the finishing. I hate the finishing. Finishing, not my favorite. I mean, the cool thing is I've got different types of wood, which is going to require different types of finishes. There's 3 different finishes that are going to get applied to these things, depending on 4 different ones. So these oak ones are going to get a gel stain. These get a mahogany gel stain. It looks really, really cool. So that's one. The cherry is going to get a regular oil-based stain. It is what is that, a Kona color. It's a really dark stain, but it lays over really well on top of the cherry and gives it this really kind of a warm, nice brown, darkish brown color. So that's number 2. I also have the figured maple. The figured maple is going to get a couple of different processes. I'm going to hit that with a dye stain to bring up the figure, the flamey figure in there. I'm going to apply a dark, like a brown dye stain, probably with an alcohol base, so it flashes off pretty quick. Then I will sand that off, and then maybe do another dye stain on top of that, and then sand that off, because what I'm trying to do with those 2 methods is get the figure to pop, but have the regular wood be its normal color. And it gives a little bit of contrast and makes that figure really stand out. It looks really, really great. And then once that's done, I will put some shellac on there just to seal in that dye stain. And then I will use a regular, I don't know, I'll probably use a lacquer over top of the shellac just to seal all that in. So that'll be really cool. So that's number 3. And then number 4 is the sapele, which I think with the sapele, I'm going to use like a tung oil finish on the sapele. It's just a natural oil finish that looks really good. The sapele has great color, and it makes the figure of the wood grain really kind of stand out. So it's super nice. Once those are sanded and you get the tung oil finish on there, it'll look awesome. So that's 4 different finishes we're applying to 4 different types of wood on these bases. So a lot of variety. I won't be doing them all at the same time. I can guarantee you that, because it does take time. But that being said, it's kind of interesting to play. That's why I like using different types of wood, because it does throw a little variety into the process for me. Not only that, but it just gives a variety to my product line as well. So you're not always looking at the same. Some people may like the dark wood of the cherry. Some people might prefer this this mahogany gel stain. That's going to. It's one of my favorites on the quarter sawn white oak. It looks fantastic, and it really makes the medullary rays of the white oak just pop. So it's awesome. All right, yeah. So we'll get into that in the next few episodes. Next Friday, this coming Friday, will all be about finish sanding and rounding edges and such. Not the most exciting part, but it is what it is. And then the following week, we'll get into actually doing some finishing on some of these and showing you what they'll look like. And I think, yeah, after that, now, I will say that they won't be quite finished, because once I put all those finishes on, I have to let them set and let all the things like the oils and such, they have to cure before I actually go back and do a final lacquer. Like I would use like a clear lacquer over top of them. Actually, that's not the lacquer I would use. I would use this lacquer right here, which is the Watco, and it's usually the semi-gloss, which takes me a while to find the semi-gloss. There's the semi-gloss. So I use this stuff. I usually use the rattle cans for the smaller projects like this. And yeah, it's just a beautiful finish on top of all the other stuff that we've done. And then once I get those done, then it'll be ready to sell. But that that's a whole different story. So, all right. Well, if you stopped in, thanks for stopping in today. Remember, my socials are right down here at the bottom of the page. You can also find them in the description. You can find them in the About section if you're on Twitch. Please feel free to stop in, leave me some comments, hit the like, subscribe, follow, whatever's appropriate for the platform you're on. I appreciate you stopping in. Have a great day. I will see you the next time.